A goal is selected to fulfill because of the speculated capabilities, products, its addition to wealth would grant. Thus is manifested the relative potential power level of goals. Potential power of a goal is a measure of the current macro value, static wealth, of the individual consciousness relative to the speculated size of omni-wealth, all things. This individual macro value subtracted from the speculated size of omni-wealth leads to a proportionately sized goal, void, for one cannot have a goal bigger than the known universe. This is the arch goal, the void, all things not possessed. The level of its potential power is speculated by the individual static wealth multiplied by the speculated size of the arch goal. This goal shrinks in size with the accumulation of individual wealth. An example is the tribe living on an island for centuries, thinking it is the totality of existence. Content that they understand all forces in the universe, they are omnipotent on their island. There are no goals left to fulfill. Their individual wealth is equal to their speculated size of omni-wealth. Until an advanced culture comes along, taking them up in a plane and showing them that they live on a vast globe, which spins around a stupendously huge sun in an incomprehensibly immense universe. Suddenly, their proportionate wealth is profoundly altered, uncovering countless new goals and potential power. The arch goal can be divided into an infinite system of fulfillment vectors. Wisdom is what determines the efficiency of travel along vectors determined by understanding. Understanding is the knowledge of the nature of a thing. Nature is a predictable, known action of a thing under the influence of specific forces. Understanding plots the series of vectors to fulfill either one or all goals. A vector is a predetermined series of applications, products, and dynamic power, supposed to end in a fulfilled goal. Reason is a compound vector, the specific vector of subvectors to fulfill an overgoal, a compound goal, orchestrated by understanding to avoid known negative vectors, consequences, misunderstood natures. Thus, the wisest reason displays the greatest understanding by fulfilling the arch goal in an instant. The vectors are organized by feasibility and priority, directly related to current static wealth and strength of desire, pull of a void. For without certain knowledge or resources, a vector may not be feasible until those items are accumulated. Thus, accumulating those objects necessary becomes a priority vector. Thus, all vectors together become a reason. However, even if a vector is unfeasible, if the desire is sufficient, the path may still be chosen. Yet it is most likely inefficient, unwise, and fraught with consequences, misunderstandings, and negative vectors. This assessment of the sequence of goals takes time, but its efficiency is not directly proportionate to time. The complexity of the vector and current degree of understanding and wisdom yield a minimum and maximum solving time. Thus is the origin of hastened, hesitant, and overly analyzed decisions. However, time can be used to directly increase the speculated size of omni-wealth simply because imagination's organizing and synthesizing task is infinite. A basic example on page 151. Once the final reason is chosen, the consciousness moves towards the void along the plotted vector. Will is the movement of consciousness along a vector causing subsequent reactions in omni-wealth. Will is what makes omni-wealth dynamic and self-interactive, creating time. If correctly plotted, the movement ends in a fulfilled goal. A fulfilled goal is an intentional addition to wealth. This adds not only the goal, but additional knowledge from insight into correct understanding. If a goal was not accomplished, the initial vector was flawed, shedding light on the flaw in understanding, creating a desire to fill that void, etc. For example of the above mechanics, let stagnation be examined, not to be confused with sloth, because in stagnation one may still be applying will. Sloth is lack of application within inharmonious wealth. It is resistant to the pull of desire, sometimes false contentment. A narcotics abuser spends years doing drugs all day. He is therefore now very efficient in getting and using them for the same goal accomplished years ago, the goal of physical pleasure. This particular goal yields little wealth and is an ever-present void because the senses can never be filled. The instant the stimulus is removed, the sense instantly becomes void again. Thus, from the initial experience, little, if any, new wealth is now acquired for the consuming dynamic power exerted. Thus, with no wealth accumulated, there are no capabilities gained. Therefore, there is no potential power increase, hence, no growth. All these fulfilled goals, being of negligible potential power, cause a rate of growth which would take lifetimes to fulfill the arch goal. However, if this individual's static wealth was very limited, so too would be the speculated size of omni-wealth, leading to a subsequently limited arch goal. Therefore, to this individual, this tiny, nearly powerless goal may be relatively huge. This is further reasoning for the individualist implementation of free knowledge. It increases the speculated size of omni-wealth in the minds of all, allowing them to realize larger goals and to use all their dynamic power to fulfill them. Simply the realization of a goal, void, initiates a pull, desire, on the perceiver. When the largest voids, goals, are filled, the largest gains in potential and dynamic power are subsequently achieved, creating powerful individuals and a powerful society. The individualists realize that the highest possible goal is the achievement of omni-wealth, which is all things, and thus the infinite experience. The most efficient vector to attain this one line that ties all individual units of wealth together in their most efficient order, effortlessly accumulating them all in that order up to the last unit, is omni-wisdom, the highest perfect wisdom, all wisdom. In this light, all other goals and vectors are less wise, to varying degrees. This is the benchmark used by the individualist to gauge their goals. Effort is a measure of will through resistance in efficiency, directly related to wealth consumed by dynamic power. The individualists believed that first there was one consciousness, which was all things, omni-wealth. This then divided itself into infinite individual consciousnesses. Each individual consciousness attempts to accumulate all these infinite pieces of self, each also a consciousness, and reassemble them into the original infinite whole. Time, the sequence of these accumulations, is an illusion because in infinity, an infinitely long second is as long as an infinitely long day. Thus, the one is still whole eternally, yet is still infinitely divided eternally. It is the divided consciousness which moves through this eternal oneness in a specific sequence that causes the illusion of time. The more of itself it accumulates, knowledge, the more this illusion breaks down. One begins to realize that there is only one consciousness and one goal, reunification. Thus, all consciousnesses must reach this degree of recollection to reunite with each other into the original self. It is for this reason that the individualists believe in tailoring their goals as high as possible and with the broadest benefit to mankind possible, being that it is all one self. To help another is to help oneself. This is proven by the phenomena of inspiration. When knowledge is shared, new knowledge erupts which may then assist the initial giver. To help many is to help oneself many times. This must not be confused with utter selflessness, for to properly help others, one must be strong in mind, body, and spirit. If one neglects oneself, there is little hope for that one to help mankind.